It's really fascinating to me how I have never met a man who is dumb and depressed. It's almost like somebody's dumb as a small blessing. They don't have the prerequisite IQ to have the awareness or self-awareness that it would take to be depressed about their life. It's like they don't know what could be or should be, might be, right? What's really interesting is that I know a lot of men who we would all agree he's not the brightest tool in the shed, but they have balls. They take risks. They bet on themselves. They play to win. They go for it. And they're successful. Now, I know some guys who are smart. We would all agree that they're smart and they have balls. Now, those guys are the most successful. But the guys who are smart and don't have balls, those guys, miserable. Absolutely the most miserable bunch of guys you'll ever meet, categorically. I think it's because they're self-aware enough and aware enough of what could be, how things might be. You know, they're consuming enough information. They connect enough dots where intellectually they see it. Intellectually they get it. But in action, they're not getting it. They're not getting after it. No risks, no calculated risks, no willingness to risk failure, right? A smart guy with no balls, miserable. For so many men, lack of success is not an IQ problem, it's a balls problem. And I'm not saying that to put anybody down or as a criticism. I'm simply saying it as an observation because I have met so many guys in my life who, after interacting with them and hearing about their problems or their challenges, I'm left with this thought of, how is that guy not more successful? If I'm being fully honest, I've looked at myself in the mirror and said that to myself in many different seasons and chapters of my life. And usually, once I dig deeper in any of those guys' lives, look at their core overall habits of how they play the game of life, how they're going after things. And then when I do an analysis or an observation of how was I playing or how am I playing the game of life at the time of when I might look in the mirror and ask myself that question, in almost all those chapters and seasons of my life and observations of other men's life, it wasn't a knowledge problem, it wasn't an education problem, it wasn't a IQ problem, it was a balls problem. It was not playing to win, not taking risks, not consistently going for it, not being willing to make some hard decisions and choices. It's almost like knowing too much causes paralysis by analysis, wondering how should I start, where should I start, what's the best way, right? It's almost like sometimes being really smart or knowing a lot of information is almost like a tax. It's almost like it causes you to trip up. Like, let me give you a microcosmic example. I know multiple guys, not the brightest tool in the shed, financially successful. These guys will go out and door knock to sell roofing and to sell solar, making $200,000-300,000 grand a year. Door knocking. They're not bright, but they got balls. They're willing to take action. Just go for it. And they do it consistently. I don't know too many guys who are smart and have balls and are willing to go out and do that. But I know some. They're ultra successful. I know lots of guys who are smart intellectually, emotionally, whatever. They got no balls. And they're not willing to go door knock and sell stuff door to door. As just like a small microcosmic example. I'm not saying that door knocking is the only way to do it. I'm giving you an example of something that requires some balls because you're going to face rejection, there's risk of failure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In fact, I know 3 different guys who are friends who I would describe as smart but no balls. Always some kind of problems and setbacks, always some kind of financial failure or hardship. Every time I've made introductions for them, connections for them to people, things, whatever, always some reason why it's just not the right fit. Can't quite work out. Not the right timing. But when you have conversations with them about philosophical things, intellectual things, current events, whatever, they're really smart, well-read, right? Intelligent, always got some kind of problem. And every single one of these specific guys that are in my life, every one of them has this thing in common. They're not willing to go for things that's just like a lot of action, requires balls, and just go for it until they succeed. They don't have that in them. I mean, I think they actually do have it in them, but they're not willing to tap into it, if that makes sense. But they don't have an IQ problem, and yet they're always trying to figure it out. It's almost like the curse of the smart guy without any balls. It's always up in your head trying to figure things out. So I say all that to say and to close that out, I've told all of them multiple times, if you just went and did solar sales or roofing sales or something like that and door knock for 6 months, 8 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week, just went and door knocked for 6 months, you'd be making hundreds of thousands of dollars with your intelligence. They won't do it. Always a problem. Always something getting in the way. So I say all that to say, if you're lacking the success that you want or that you see for yourself, I would encourage you to really be honest with yourself in self-assessment and realize that it's most likely not an education problem. It's an implementation problem. I've talked about that in previous videos. And more fundamentally, it's probably not an IQ problem. It's probably a balls problem. You just aren't willing to, as of yet, dig deep down inside, tap into your primal instincts, and play to win. And accept that you're gonna scrape your knees, take some lumps, take some bruises, just gotta go for it. That's it. In a sense, while that might feel like a criticism, it's also good news. Because the good news is, it's not an IQ problem. It's just a balls problem. Just find your balls and get after it.